All right. I don't know if you guys can hear me out there yet. Just let me know if you can hear me and see the screen and everything. Let me make sure I send a message to everybody so they know what's going on and we're all in here. So far, you should be able to see me looking at Bitcoin. I see the chat. We got a couple people in here. It looks like one person from the Roar community and one person from the FARTBOY group. How are you guys doing today? Timothy and Millsy. What's up, Doneska? Doneska's in the Discord. He's a hard worker, man. What's up, Brian? What's up, JJ? All right, let me get out a piece of paper. And if you guys notice me losing any chart requests or leaving anything behind, you just let me know. And I will go back and get them done. But it seems like so far the first thing we have to go over is going to be Roar. Then FARTBOY. I'm just going to write these down and we'll get running here. Then AERO. PENGU. And if you guys do any sort of DEX stuff or low cap stuff, if you guys could just let me know, please. The contract address, kind of the time frame you're looking at, things that help me give you a better chart request in return is kind of knowing what are you doing with it? Do you actually own it already? Are you looking to buy some in pullbacks? Are you on leverage in this? If so, if you are in leverage, if you could let me know what your entry price is. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay. Obviously, I can't give you financial advice, but for me to give you any sort of opinion or feedback, you have to be super accurate with me also. Okay? So just tell me as much as you can, and then I'll go over it. Okay? So I got PENGU so far. What? Romania, dude. Hell yeah. Nice to have you in the house. Thank you for fixing that, Marco. Okay, so then I think that I had AERO in here. Let me get that down. And spell on the 4 hour. 4 hour and daily. Okay, and that's for Marco. Let me make sure I write that down, friend. Okay, so we got quite a bit here to get us going. I think the very first thing that we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go over Bitcoin, and then we'll move into these chart requests, okay? Last stream, we spent a lot of time talking about the macro on Bitcoin, so I'm not going to spend an awful lot of time doing that. I want your favorite coin. Is that AERO? Yeah, right now it is, man. So I'll put that down for you, Brian. I'm pretty big on AERO because of the macro gains and the potential that I think it has. I also like its kind of narrative in that it's this financial hub for what could be the ecosystem for Base. So that's a pretty big deal. All right, so let's look into this. So the move to the upside from this low, I think, is the most important. We've been talking about this in the Discord group a lot. But if we look at this as a move to the upside, it's really hard to say that this really big correction fits in with maybe this wave 2 or something like that. I just don't believe it. So because of that, I think this is a 1 into 2 and a 1 into 2 and likely here another 1 into 2. So you have some sort of triple 1-2s here, all wedging in on itself. And we should get moving to the upside in 3s and 4s here most likely soon. So what I would like to say we should do here on Bitcoin is run an extension from the high, or excuse me, from the low to the high to the low of that big 3-wave move. Turn on our corrective trend-based fibs for now, just so that we could see the little roadblocks that are becoming up really soon. But overall, I think the macro picture for this takes Bitcoin a lot higher if this is to be the final 5 waves within the wave 5. And we talked about last time why the 5th wave could get extended. And that was because when we looked at Bitcoin early on, we noticed that the possible wave 3 never reached what would be its extended wave 3 targets, right? So I think that's how all of this ends up running into counts that are all sandwiched within each other. So let's make this a smaller degree just so we can track it easier. And then we will zoom out again. So you can see how this will start to come together as the final fifth wave of what could be the final move to the upside on Bitcoin, right? If again from the lows you have a 1 into 2, a 3 into 4, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of the way 5 of 5, well then this is over once we get up here in this zone, right? What's up, Delta? So this could easily get extended. We talked about this over and over again, and we'll cover it one more time. Because wave 3 and Elliott wave is commonly the most extended, and it hits the 1.618 extension. This time it fell just short of that. Because of that, we side with an extended fifth wave, right? So if we pull our extensions from the low or 0 point down here to the high or 3 to the low or 4 to try to predict that wave 5, right guys? Let me find my thing again. It's not going to show me, of course. Here it is. Let's switch these to the corrective sets. And in an extended fifth wave, we often find that one line. Now an extended fifth wave can go as high as 1.618, but it's not something that I think we should count on. Yes? So I would say, you know, let's defeat the 130K that we've been on about in all our YouTube videos for a while. Let's get past there. And then let's move on to that next range. I do think if Bitcoin is to make this extended leg and go for the extended fifth wave, we'll see it get around to 230K, right? That would be like a holy shit blow off top. And it'd be pretty good for everybody. So let's check out what we have next here. So does anybody have any questions over Bitcoin at all? Oh, it's V. Okay, I was like, dude, it's so hard to know who's who when we're all switching back and forth. What's up, Edward? It's hard to know who's who switching back and forth between a Discord to a YouTube and all this other stuff. But I think that's how we could build the extended fifth wave here. The other thing that I think that we should often be using is an acceleration channel from the lows of 2 to the lows of 4 to the highs of 3. And we look for that fifth wave to start really pushing up through the center line and find resistance at the top of the channel. In a really like big blow off fifth wave, a lot of times you'll see price action. We saw this on Toshi early on. It leaves the channel, consolidates on top of it, gives one more hit, and then we lose it, right? So that's something to be aware of. This cycle could blow up like that, but once we get there, essentially it's over, right? All right, so you guys might lose me for 1 second as I switch to the deck screener. Sometimes I get a little bit of a lag when we do this, but let's go look at Roar for the Roar community and see where we're at there. Is my Roar community still in the house, my dudes? Anybody here still? All right, so the very first thing that we should look at is going to be the possibility that it was going to try to invalidate the route to the downside, right? So let's talk about the macros super fast. And I know people say, oh, it can't be. You can't use the initial wave and Elliott wave into your accounts and blah, blah, blah. I think that on these deck screeners, to have any sort of chance at counting them, you do have to involve a lot of their inception wicks. Unfortunately, due to the divergence here on the RSI and the divergence on volume, you could even see it as its overall volume profile is much lower than back here. We had the highest volume, highest oscillations in 3, lower volume, lower RSI, but higher price action closures as we moved into the 5. When that happens, a lot of times, this is how we know that there's a momentum divergence and that a retracement or a correction could be coming, right? So if we just delete everything and all we're going to worry about on Roar is that correction, right? So let's pull a retrace support from low to high. We can see so far we've had amazing reactions at the 0.236. That is just the kind of very first support that Roar should have expected, right? And that's why we labeled that as an A. So we have a 3-wave motion to the downside and an ABC, likely in an A. We make a 3-wave motion to the upside. This looks like a 3-wave down, and it's chaining something together, which I think could likely just be a B wave. That's what I would want to be cautious of before a potential C leg to the downside. Now, if we talk about B waves, as you can see, this is very choppy, overlapping, lacks impulsivity. So I'm going to stick with it as a correction from now and pull a retrace fib from a high to a low. And I'm going to look for those resistances. B waves will often start to find resistance in the area of the 618, 0.5, 702, but can crawl up to the 786. There's always the opportunity that a B wave can expand, right? A B wave can expand to the most common area of interest, which is 1.236 through 1.382. This would be an expanded B wave in a flat. But for now, let's stay focused on just the local roadblocks that this could run into as a regular B wave here, and just a simple flat to the downside, right? If it becomes a flat, the minimum retracement is going to be around 90% or the 888. If it runs up to here and rejects harshly after with 5 waves to the downside, it would be a large buying opportunity. Now, we cannot say that this is an impulsive wave to the upside. Number one, because of this overlapping, chopping bull crap that it's doing. And number two, we don't have enough price action yet. So if this were to break the 1.382 for Roar at 0.3465, at that point we could call it more than expanded B wave. We could say our counts are wrong. We could say Roar is breaking out. But for now, I'm going to stick with the primary count of this just being a B wave to the upside. At some point, I would be looking out for a big spike coming in on your buy volume. Right in here, a big pull, green rod coming up, and a rejection wick at the same time. That way you would know that was the end of the possible correction towards the upside. All right. If you have any questions, my Roar people, please let me know. If not, we are going to move on. Sorry, guys. I picked up a cough from my baby. She got sick after we left Mexico. And now I've got the death cough. All right, so let's move on. It looks like our next chart is going to be FARTBOY. Let's go over that. Man, the chat's blowing up. I wish I could pop in there and chat with you guys right now. I don't want to miss out on anything. I make sure I write down VeChain as the next thing someone listed off. All right, so far that's all I see. If I missed anything, guys, let me know, and we'll go back over it. Let's move on to FARTBOY. Yeah, thank you, Millsy. I hope it was super helpful, dude. We will continue to march our way down this list. If I miss anybody's altcoins, just let me know. If I go too fast and you have a question, just let me know. All right, so to start off FARTBOY, I want to say we've done an amazing job on this chart lately as a team. We bought support and sold resistance multiple times. This could have led to amazing gains for people, right? So let's look at that. So if all we had was the very first target where you were told to buy, that we missed the projected support by 7 thousandths of a penny, which was right here. If you would have bought this and sold into the resistances like we talked about, you would have made about 74%. This was your next buy box given to you. Let me make sure we're on log. Yes. You could have sold out at the 1.382 and you were noting resistances coming in and divergences and that it wasn't going so swell. Could have made another 100%. So around 200% on average could have been made while playing this. Just curious, unnecessary surf good. All right, my dude. Thank you, Tim. Let me get that written down. We got Mana coming in and Algo. Those are both amazing. We really like them. If you guys could try to do me the biggest favor and just put one ticker at a time, that way we don't get piled up too quickly, right? All right, so we also got FARTCOIN coming in for Nameless and POPCAT. All right, let's keep going over FARTBOY though. So what did we see here? A couple things. Number one, we thought we saw 5 waves in A. when we measure the time of A and how long it took to correct, the high here was 2880, high here was 2880, so it really doesn't matter. We'll go off that to give you the benefit of the doubt. You could see the B wave took nearly 6 times in length. Anytime a correction as a possible 2 takes longer than 2 times, we should be saying, this is suspicious. This is likely a B wave, right? So then what do you see from FARTBOY after that? Excuse me, guys. You see a potential 5-wave motion to the upside. You can see what on the RSI? Bearish divergences. Let's look at the volume. All the sellers showed up to the party, right? Top of the B wave comes in. Everybody sold off. As we were coming into those tops of the B waves, people were pushing this with buy orders. Somewhere in here, there was about a $22,000 buy order that tried to save things. Now, besides us talking about the time of why that's a B wave, the next thing that should make us believe this is a C wave to the upside was a pivot pulled from the low to the high to the low, shows that we never hit 1.618, validating a wave 3. Instead, we get a rejection at the 1.382. Then what does price action do? It overlaps with the top of a possible wave 1, meaning you are likely wrong. This is just an ABC to the upside likely. Yes? So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to say, whoa, Manny's here. What's up, MJ? So then we got the next thing we should talk about, right? What's our next support? Next area of interest. Why are we talking about it? Let's pull a retrace fib from the low to the high of the movement. Let's use our new style template. Excuse me. This is our next area of interest right here, right? The 0.130 line to the 0.1093. I would say that's my next area of interest for FARTBOY. It starts to lose that. It starts to lose the 1.618, guys. You know what to do. All right, let's move on. If you have any questions over FARTBOY, do let me know. But for this to invalidate the count, it's really got to produce some serious displacement. Okay? All right, let's move on. The next thing we have is AETA. We're going to zoom out and just talk about the macro on a lot of these so we don't get caught up in the weeds too long. Let me see here. I moved AETA down my list because I do not own any. It's much easier to manage and watch out for things that you do own versus the things that you don't own during this time period. All right, so let's look at these lows here, meaning this low and this low. That's all we need for now is the daily. This low came in not 0.510, and this low came in around not 0.5107. What was this? 0.1, so a lower low. Let's go check another chart just to make sure. If this was the absolute low. This is not 0.5100, not 0.5110. So this is the lower low here, it seems, on both charts. So what I think we're going to have to do is stick with our view that this is likely just an ABC to the upside and a portion of a correction before it rolls over further. I don't feel super bullish on this one, but that's just my problem, right? I don't own it. Maybe that's why I'm biased. But for me, I think that what we're seeing here to the upside is probably 3, 3, 5 and an A wave, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down and a WXY, in a B wave, and now you're producing a C wave. That 3-wave movement will likely just make a corrective motion to the upside. Yes, AETA may get back over the dollar range again, but I don't think it's likely going to have a bull run. Maybe it does, but to do that right, it needs to really start to break out, really start to get displacement. It will have to break out of the channel that we have here and start making some stronger moves to the upside than it is currently. Yeah, I'll write down dot, Manny, and I'll timestamp it for you, sir, in case you have to leave. Man, we've missed you. I hope you've been all right. Can't wait to see you the next time I'm in the UK again. All right, let's move on to PENGU. This is one that potentially could continue to make bigger moves. But let's see what's going on here. So, two things to look at right now. And I think it's important. Let's delete everything. So if we believe this is a 5-wave motion to the upside, right? You're saying that this is either a 1 or an A, and a 2 or a B, going for 3, 4, and 5, or that it's over in an ABC. Now, if this was 5 waves in A and a correction in B, and now it's going for C, great. Let's make it prove it to us with our fibs instead of just our opinion. We're at the 786, which is a real big common area of reactions and resistance here. The thing that holds me up is that we are starting to hang up around what we can see to be the trend-based fib extensions from low to high to low. We don't want to see this get hung up in the 1 through 1.382 for too long. You want to see this break out and validate a wave 3 and then move to your wave 5 estimated target, right? And we'll talk about the bullish path and the bearish path here soon. But this would be your wave 5 estimated target. Wave 4 would likely not give a deep retracement so that it doesn't overlap into the top of a wave 1. Now, the things that I like that make me feel like this could be a wave 3 is the overall rise in volume as it's coming up. The second thing, it's starting to break the 1-to-1, meaning this is not any longer a 1-2 and 1 into 2, right? It's likely, worst case scenario, we might have to say 1 into 2, 1 into 2, and now we're going into 3s and 4s and 3s and 4s, and we get a final 5th here, and that's how we reach this. The other thing that I really like about it that makes me lean possibly more towards an impulse might be the way that it's handling the base channel, right? So let's go from low to high. We're just now starting to break out of a base channel that was being respected. This also looks like a little bit of a bull flag to me. So we might backtest the bull flag before they go, but a lot of times they'll just break out. So this is really good. Let's get up, find the next resistance on PENGU, even if it is a C wave, and then let's start to consolidate again and come back up again, right? When you break out of a base channel with the angle of the dangle looking like this, it's likely a C wave, or a wave 3, excuse me, especially with the volume coming in. The other things that you can look at is your MACD, just your histogram, right? You have no divergence on the histogram yet. We're still putting in big green bars. The other thing that I really like is the Elliott Wave oscillator by Lazy Bear. You can see that we have really big oscillations coming in. It's likely still a wave 3. You haven't even had a divergence yet, right? So I'm not too fearful on PENGU. I don't own any, but I could say that this could likely end up being a wave 3, right? So that's our estimated wave 3 and wave 5 target. It also aligns with the upper expanded retracement fibs to the 1.236 to 1.382. So for now, I'm going to stick with this. And I'm going to say that we're possibly in a wave 3 until proven otherwise. I'm sure you could spend a lot of your time in here going nuts and counting this macro, but I do think that it would get quite annoying quite fast. So I'm not going to do it. That's something that I tend to break down more in the Discord community where we have time to do such things. For now, be watching your simple resistance trend line. You have a triple bear divergence coming in, and overall the volume has kind of dropped off. Yes, there is a spike here, but overall the volume is dropping off. Just look to see if it resets a little bit maybe settles down before going again. But PENGU will be one we'll be watching in the Discord. All right. We already talked about ADA. All right, let's move on. We'll do spell on the 4-hour and daily. So I'm going to go to a Coinbase chart instead. I think the daily might be important here if we have another low next to us. Yeah, so see, we're on log, so that's good. What I don't like about this chart, let's put it a trend line here so we can see the low. I don't like this about spell at all. First thing I don't like is what? We lack impulsivity to the upside, right? It's a very choppy move. And then it makes another leg. Correction. Another choppy move, right? This looks more like a correction than anything. The next thing I don't like, unfortunately, will be that this chart is in a forever downtrend. The next thing that this chart has done more than once is it's came down to that 90% or 888 retracement level. Also on a weekly, we highlighted this, I believe, sir, before you were a member in the Discord. So maybe that's why you didn't notice. But this is just a 3-wave motion. It ends on high volume. It's just an ABC. If you're lucky, this then becomes A, and this is all somehow a B. And if you're lucky, it somehow gives a C, right? But I would say this is not the best chart to be swinging for. Excuse me. I have a sore throat. I'm trying to talk for hours on end. This could get tricky. This isn't a high probability setup, right? When we look at Chainlink, when we look at AERO, when we look at some of these other ones, sir. Now, you're very welcome, JJ. When we look at some of these other ones, we're going to notice that we have a high probability setup. And why I continue to harp on this word is because of risk management. So a high probability setup starts with a clear 5-wave motion. Why is this important? Because in Elliott Wave, what starts with 5 waves ends with 5 waves, right? So if we can clearly say that started with 5 waves, and I'm highly expecting this, my next goal is to figure out where and how do I get into a trade, right? And that's my job. And what I work hard in the Discord to bring people the value on is how do we find these entries or strategies within the legs of Elliott Wave? And how do we plan for targets to the upside, right? So again and again, you're going to hear me say, if things don't break the 1 through 1.382, it's likely corrective. Around 80% of the time, corrections are going to stop in that zone. Whether it's a WXY, the Y leg stops from 1 to 1.236. If it's a C within an ABC, it's typically going to stop between 1 through 1.382. Sometimes it gets explosive to 1.618. But right, this shit right here is a 3-wave start. It's never a high probability start. We lack impulsivity in a 5-wave motion, sir. So for me, I'd holster that until later, until we can get a high probability setup. Now, if off these lows you build a 5-wave motion and we can plan this pullback here, yes, sir, AERO's been requested 611. I got it written down. But if you can plan a 5-wave up in the Discord, we'll catch this as a 3-wave back and ride the wave 3 for a complete exit. Then it'll make a wave 4 and a wave 5, right? But for now, I'd holster this, move on to something else. So that was Spell for Marco. I hope it's helpful, sir. And you are super welcome as always. Let's make sure I don't miss any other charts. I got DOT written down. Okay. The next one is going to be AERO. This has been a highly requested chart. I know that we're going to kind of go over a dead horse. We're going to beat it a little bit harder. But the reason why we're excited on this one and what we've been going after is high probability setup after high probability setup. I have a lot of shit on my chart. I don't come pre-dialed in ready to show you stuff. This is all off the cuff, and this is shit that we've been covering in the Discord, so it's cluttered. Anyhow, on YouTube, you will see I showed you where our entry area was. We barely got in here. That was my first DCAs. Here's our next DCA area that we made in the Discord, and we'll zoom in again so that we can see our next DCA areas, right? So here was my next DCA area where I bought when I was on vacation in Mexico. And then again, we bought here. Well, I did. This motion was a 3-wave pullback that comes to what? 1 through 1.382. Let's delete everything so we can just look at it. This is where we posted in the Discord to everybody to get ready. Said something's coming. It's going to make a pullback. Blah, blah, blah. I went to this connection point. Sorry. And the one line gave the entry, right? These things are the way to go, man. If you can learn how to use the fibs, you'll do significantly better over time. You won't just be buying the dip blindly. You'll be buying the dip with confidence. And that's a huge difference, right? So it's something to be aware of. All right, so let's zoom back out and talk about the macro here on AERO and why we're stoked on it. I think the best thing you could do for this one is stay on the daily. Turn this off and turn off our volume so we can just chat real quick. So we have our first macro move, and that's what we're going to use our extensions on to look for our daily targets. Let's put some labels on here just to help the eyes. I think this is how you easily get a 10x on this coin, right? And I'll take being wrong, but I do think that AERO is setting up for bigger moves in time. I got FIL down for you, 611, and KL, thanks for coming. I got QNT down for you, friend. All right, so let's talk about just some simple labeling here, 1 into 2. A minimum wave 3 target, drop back a spot for 4, come up for 5. This would be our macro minimum roadmap, right? This was our first buys, and this is how we started to talk about maybe going for a 10x on this project, right? The thing I want you to see now is what? We have a possible 1-2 stacking to the upside. And for a lot of people, this might be something new, but it's something we cover often in the community. You have another 1 into 2 here, leading into a 3, 4, and 5, right? Let's make this a different color. Let's change the degree on it. I don't like that one. It's ugly. Don't worry about if you're using the correct degrees. Just put the damn things on your chart. Even when you get to that portion of the Elliott Wave book, just skip the shit. It won't matter. You're not an Elliotician. You're not going on the news. You're not documenting the history of the SPX. We're just a couple fucking degens trying to make money. So again, let's go to this inner leg and look for its minimum wave 3 extension. Dude, the chat is on fire, bro. Damn. I wish I could be in the chat. There's emojis flying off all over the place. Everybody's chatting. I got to be over here working, doing the charts. All right, so if the green minimum wave 3 is the 1.618, let's delete this for now, is the minimum 1.618 for this inner leg that we're working on currently, and its wave 4 falls back a little bit, and its wave 5 comes up, you can see how this wave 3 of the golden count or larger degree could easily get extended, which would then push the wave 5 to the upside. And this wave 4 would then start to cause some stacking with this wave 4. Now, I'm not a man who likes to count a triple 1, 2, but I do think that's what we have here is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Like early on Solana, we saw something very similar. This kind of like wedging in of the sandwiching of the 1s and 2s. Everybody's going to say that it is just a rising wedge. But it's bullshit, right? This is going to break out. It is showing signs of strength, in my opinion. And when I say this, it's not just hope. It's coming from our larger time frames, right? It's coming from the probability that we have a high probability setup here of 5 waves to the upside. And then what does it do? 3 waves to the downside, 3 waves to the upside, and a potential 5 wave motion to the downside, maybe. Or it could just be 3 waves to the downside. Regardless, this is the low or invalidation point for a correction. I've been DCA into it as we've come up, right? So my DCA is sitting up here. I know I'm not going to allow this to really start losing structures on me or the overall invalidation point. And this is a spot bag. So I'm adding DCA as we come up, and now I'm sitting on my hands waiting for displacement in a range. Displacement in a range, in a final push. And then I will have to start paying attention to the divergences that will come in at that point on RSI and on the volume, and we'll look for that as a momentum divergence for a reason that you could get a large pullback, right? I'm not going to ride this down. I'm going to DCA out. But I do think that is how we get to these much higher, excuse me, sore throat is kicking my ass. But that's how we get to these much higher extended wave targets, right? So if we were to say that wave 3 gets extended, excuse me, let me fix this. And we're looking for this to top out as a wave 3, and we're looking for its wave 4. We're just going to do some LARPing, a little bit of bullshitting here. We look for wave 4s to often fall back in our template to the 0.382 to 0.5. I don't think you'll get it that deep. You'll likely just get a shallow one, just like this guy will likely be a shallow one. And then you could go for a overall pull from 0 to potential 3 to potential 4. Go for your 0.618 as your 5. And that would be your overall cycle target. Right now, guys, that's really lavish, right? I'm never going to tell you a target that's at 95 cents is going to go to $16, right? I don't like it. So I do think to keep ourselves safe, let's do this. Let's go to linear. Let's use a 3-day chart since we're on linear. We have lots of whipsaw action here, so let's stick to this chart for now. If we talk about macro goals and the 3 getting extended, let's look at that just so you have logistical targets that make sense, because I'm going on vacation. I'm not going to be around, right? Let's do our inner leg also here as a 1 and a 2. So we can see how that would be 3, 4, and 5. Ends up with an extended third to the 2.618. So that makes more sense now. So this is 1 and a 2. 3 goes for an extension. 4 gives a pullback, and we go for 5. Let's delete the inner leg. Let's do the same thing we did earlier, right? So if you could live action role play this with me here. This is wave 1 into 2. It'll give a 3, 4, and 5. And then we will give another 4 and then another 5. Sorry, it's not exactly to scale. Likely this will fall back like we talked about. And now let's get our wave 5 target from 0 to 3 to 4. That looks better. All right, so if it is to do something like this, it could easily get extended as it would be taking all-time highs and going into uncharted territory. But again, guys, let's not look way out in the future. Let's just keep playing this as the waves come at us, and it's something we'll keep updated in the Discord. But even from here on linear, this chart still has a good potential for a minimum 90%, if not more, right? 150. If you want to be crazy degen, then you can stay on daily. You can stay on your logarithmic chart. Those targets will be noted for you in the Discord already and earlier on in the video, so you'll be able to find them. But either way, I'm charting it for upside. It's just how far does it go, we won't know until later in the cycle. So that's AERO. Let's go ahead and look at VeChain. Man, 21 people here today, guys. Thank you so much for coming. This is amazing. All right, let's go to VeChain. Ha, someone has to work while we enjoy. You're too kind. I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I hope that is good. All right, sorry, I needed a sip. My throat is dry as the Sahara Desert. All right, where is VeChain today? I don't own this anymore. I moved my money around and moved it into a different altcoin. I still think this has potential to move to the upside. I think if you're lucky, it's 5 waves in a leading expanding diagonal. You could also be wrong, and this could be 3 up, 3 down, 5 up in an A wave. And this could be a B wave low in a WXY that came to the 90% level. And that could be the reason why it only makes a C to the upside. But overall, I think best case scenario, regardless, we're only looking at an ABC. That typically comes to the 1 through 1.382. We do have a technical target for the breakout if it can clear the neckline, right? So the neckline wick is here, so I'll adjust it just a slight bit so you can see. That technical target is taken from the average lows to the highs of the neckline. We're still waiting for a breakout target. A lot of times you'll break out, consolidate, and then break out again to try to go for that target. Excuse my cough, guys. So that's something to be aware of and what we should be looking at. Overall, targets for the technical target, the extensions, the Elliott Wave, everything is kind of charting this for an upside move. So I would just stay settled for now. Let's look at the volume. Overall, you have a rise coming up here in your volume, which is great. We want to continue to see that go on. If that can happen, VeChain could continue those targets to the upside. But again, for now, we're looking for an ABC to the 1 through 1.382 because of prior structures. If it's lucky, it makes 1.618. Then it would fall back in a wave 4 and continuation in a 5, which would fill out the technical target and make the higher extensions. So that is VeChain. Let's move on to Algorand. I do own this. I might be a little biased in it. Algorand is just like VeChain, right? So same shitty structure up here with overlap and expansion. So best case scenario, it's a leading expanding diagonal. And whether that's a wave 1 or an A, we won't know until further down the road. The volume is amazing here on Algorand, but until it can hit the 1.618 and give me a 5-wave structure within my green wave 3, I can't consider it impulsive to the upside yet, right? And then I would want a wave 4 that doesn't overlap into the top of wave 1 as invalidation and further pump. We've been buying Algorand in the Discord for quite some time. It was charted early on by myself and 34 EMA Trader, another technical analyst for the group. We have decent targets for this, so we're going to continue to watch it to the upside and use any local pullbacks here for Algorand as just a wave 4, right? The RSI is resetting, amazing. That's something to be looking out for. Now, if we want to be bulls, excuse me, guys, we want to see a hidden bull divergence come in, meaning we likely get another push down in the RSI to diverge with these lower RSI levels, giving a hidden bull. So it's something I want to be aware of, is that this could potentially be an A into a B, and we're waiting for a scary little C leg here to finish out the local wave 4. That could come down to around 0.2581 or even a strong wick that could push deeper to 0.2370, right? I wouldn't run for the hills. I would just be buying more. And again, we notice here on our RSI, we have a general overall resistance, and it is falling down into support of the wedge. At some point, this is going to give more clarity and direction. But overall, I think that I am macro bullish here on Algorand and looking for more upside. So that's another one to be on our radar and be looking out for. Mana, excuse me, guys. My sickness is starting to catch up with me here. Yeah, exactly. We got so many Aunt Judy booties, I don't even know what to do. All these chicks ran down to Mexico and got butt lifts, and they all turned out to have just ruined Aunt Judy booties, right? So this was a cheap butt lift in Mexico. She ended up with a pointy ass cheek and a round ass cheek. No different as our last charts we've looked at. The only difference here on Mana is that I could kind of bullshit my way around and say I have a 1, 2, all the way up in 3, pullback in 4, 5 waves within a wave 5, giving it a higher probability this one's going to play out. Now again, as always, I'm moving this off to the side so we can see what I'm talking about. But we would like to see this volume continue to rise up. I'm not so much worried about RSIs to the upside during this portion of the bull market. I'm more so worried about volume supporting a move. Right now, we do agree with that. We do see that. As long as I'm between my daily 50 EMA and my 618 gateway drug, for me, mana's an accumulation in this zone, and I'm looking for more upside. This is no different, excuse me, guys, than AVAX, which we've been looking at for a while now, right? So if this is just an ABC to the upside, which we are always very open to, it will stop from 1 to 1.382. That takes mana to 0.47 to 0.63 cents, right? We need a wave 3 to come up and hit the minimum 76 mark to verify that, and a sequential or successive wave 5 to come along and finish off the structure. Likely at that point, that's when we start to pay attention to bearish structures within, right? So if this can finish that and give us somewhat of a wave 4 here, that's not scary. Back test the channel. Give a wave 5. We start to see divergence on RSI and volume at that point. Clean up shop. At least 75% off the table, and we look to buy back later, okay? So that's my opinion on mana. Another strong coin to be watching out for this season is that. Let's go over and look at FARTCOIN on the deck screener if you were still here for that chart. Let's see what we have going on. Might lose you guys, as always, between switching back and forth between the deck screener to the other charts. So let me know if you're still here and if you can still see what I'm doing. This one is working hard to do what? Invalidate our counts, right? Which is a good thing. We're always open to being wrong, right? So it's always something to be aware of. So let's delete everything. I no longer own any more of this. A big thing that's keeping me away from it is as this coin, let me go to linear. As this coin made this march up the stairs, two things scare me. One, regular bull divergence. Higher price action closures, lower RSI closures. Two, it ends on high volume. It tricked so many assholes to buy the top is what that means. As exit liquidity so that people in the know could leave. To be honest with you, these memes aren't getting my money anymore right now. The bigger coins are getting my money, right? So let's say we're wrong. Somehow it's going to break out to the upside. This then would have to be an impulsive wave to the upside and a pullback, or a corrective wave to the upside and then a pullback. Either way, for anybody in a spot position on this, which is the only way I would be trading it at this current moment, this is hard invalidation. Right? And we're looking for a 3-wave motion to the upside to start to respect our corrective trend-based fib extensions. We see this reaction at 382. We're looking for it to give a reaction at 618 and likely eat up what, guys? Something we learned in the Discord early on. And I think what a lot of people teach nowadays is 50% of this liquidity in the wick left behind, right? So that's our next area of interest. So if we just turn that on so we can see just that, I would say it's highly likely that FARTCOIN gives the push up to there. Right? That 50% zone, if not a little more, maybe giving to this area. But I think that it will just be a corrective motion to the upside. I think that its all-time high is in. I'm not super stoked on it. Maybe it's because I don't own it. Now I'm a forever bear or whatever the hell people are going to say. But I think this is just a B wave before a further C wave to the downside. If not something worse, right? Now, any of my people who have been around forever, hit me up in the chat. If you've been in crypto since before 2023, give me a shout out in the chat. but you can tell yourself that you've seen this, right? You've seen coins that are shitters like this. They don't go from cycle to cycle. A lot of them die and never come back. This one doesn't have to move on to the next cycle. This isn't something you put in your damn ledger. This isn't something you are trying to hold on to forever, right? This is some shit that I'm looking to get out of. I already have. I'm not going back to it right now. I like the arcing. I like the potential for this to move to the upside, but the risk of downside is just too much for me on FARTCOIN. So for now, I would say look for this area. Look for us to come up and try to hit some more of these resistances. But overall, I'm going to be a bear on this, unfortunately. Let me move this off to the side so we can see what's relevant at the moment. We're going to look at 0.5, 702, 618, 786. Where's our 888 today? And the most common thing to see happen here is what? Expanded B waves are very probable. A lot of times the 105 is a really good area of interest for this. So I would say if it's lucky, maybe it reaches up 250, 270 again at some point in the cycle. But for now, I'm just going to have to continue to label it a B wave because nothing about this shows me I should be pumped. It's a massive impulse. Shit's coming, right? Now, you could get lucky. Let me put some extensions on here so I'm not misspeaking. Could get lucky and say this is a wave 1 into a wave 2, and likely it's all in a wave 3, pull back in a 4. Let's use our extensions to verify this. And by that, guys, we mean what? A minimum 1.618 extension is met, right? Boom, we meet that. Now we look for 2.236, right in the area of interest. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to say that's the top of a wave 3, and we'll label this for you. This is your bullish path, by the way, just in case. Even though it's bullishly bearish, it's still bullish. So just keep that in mind. So we don't have to be a macro bull on it, but we could say during this cycle, nice reaction here in the area of the 618. So I'm going to label this as a potential A or 1. If it wants to invalidate our bear counts, we'll get to that later. But for now, I'm going to say A into B, looking for a C, right? And I'm going to label this with 5 waves within it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's look at our RSI between 2 and 4. Let me go in. Let's look at this. I want to see if we can get if we had a hidden bull here between our 2 and 4 within the A wave of this leg, okay? So here's our wave 2 RSI, and here's our wave 4 RSI. Not quite a hidden bull, but I would say we're likely viewing this on the wrong time frame for what we would have been after this trend on. So let's zoom in a little bit more here. So here's our 2, and here's our 4. Nice hidden bull divergence with a 3-wave pullback. Yes? So to me, guys, this is bread and butter. It could very well be a 5-wave motion up. We'll have to continue to watch it, monitor it as this goes. But that means you're looking for a C on the larger time frame within the B, like we talked about. Or you break 270 and you're like, holy shit, FARTCOIN's going to the moon, right? It needs to break 270 to go to the moon, right? Oh, dude, thank you guys for hitting the like button and all the chats. It really helps other people see the stream. The more you guys chat, the more people see the stream, the more people we can share this love with, right? So that was FARTCOIN. Let's move on to POPCAT. I know it sounds like a dumbass coin, and the name sounds stupid. This is one we've been charting in the Discord for quite a while, so maybe we're a little biased on it, but I would think that we got in quite early. The reason why was a potential 5-wave motion to the upside and a 3-wave pullback, right? Now, we don't really know how this leg to the upside is going to be made, right? We talk about this in every single thing. It's an extension from low to high to low, right? This here, let me fix it. It's a little fucking wonky right now. Let's go to a 3-day. These are internal fair value gaps that were left behind here. We'll adjust them. But we're looking on a 3-day or daily for this area of interest and internal fair value gap as our first area of interest, right? On POPCAT, that takes us up to around 70 cents. After that, the most common area of interest would be $1.30 to $2.50, right? This is a coin that could really get going, but it is a shit coin, right? This isn't, again, something that I'm looking to put on my ledger. It's not something I'm willing to hold through from cycle to cycle. POPCAT is just get your money and get the fuck out kind of thing. Okay? So it's not, we're not lingering around forever. Excuse me, guys. Try not to die on stream. That would be horrible. All right. So for now, let's stay focused on these roadblocks ahead. If POPCAT is to get impulsive, what would we see? Well, it would have an amazing straight up and down angle. Its biggest roadblock is going to be around $1.13. That's the 786 resistance retrace from the high to the low of the range. That's going to be a big roadblock there. And break out of the channel. If it can bust out of this channel with an impulsive nature and trend sideways, it could very well give that push to 370, validating an impulse, right? If it does that, then it could do more later on. But until we get a wave 3, we've got to stay focused on just a corrective motion to the upside and the roadblocks ahead. Those targets come in around 0.68, $1.30, $1.94, and $2.50. All of those are big psychological ranges anyways. Sorry, guys. I hate being sick as much as you guys hate hearing it. All right, let's go look at DOT for MJ. I don't own any of this. I think that overall its macro isn't the most beautiful thing. I think that if it's lucky, this was 3 waves up in A. You then made an expanded B wave using our template for a retracement to the 105 that we talked about earlier in the stream. You get flat bottom candle closures there, and you begin to move upwards. This is likely just a C wave. Now for our channeling, we're not going to be able to do a whole lot with this C wave until we can clearly say, hey, I have, a 5 wave motion within here, right? What's the most common thing that a C wave does, especially in an expanded flat? Take the highs of the A. So I would say this is your most likely area of interest on DOT is 570 to 616. To make us wrong, this is going to have to absolutely start breaking out and form a true impulse to the upside, right? Then it would likely give a wave 3. It would give a tiny little pullback, and then it would keep going, and you'd be like, what in the hell is going on? It's the biggest expanded flat ever. It even broke 1.618, right? A C wave and an expanded flat can make it there. But I would say oftentimes it doesn't go past there, right? Early on in XRP, we saw an expanded flat in the Discord that went to, I think, even close to 2.618. And we've had a play off that. So it can happen in crypto. Things can be a little bit more volatile, and you do have to expand your volatility ranges of your fibs and targets. But that's okay. We learn and change as we grow and move forwards. So shit happens, but that's okay. So overall, that's my outlook on DOT. Let's go look at Filecoin. I'm biased on this one. I think that Filecoin is going to put on a show like XTZ did. Like DOT, we will have to assume the worst, meaning what? This is an A, expanded B wave, and it just gives a C wave, and then it would crash after. Sorry for the fucked up drawing, but it would crash after. If that's true, so be it. I'm going to take a stab at this guy for the hope that this would happen. And I do think that Filecoin has the potential to make big moves to the upside. When we look on a daily, we can look on the left and we can see a lot of liquidity left behind up here. Right? This fair value gap's completely cleaned up, wick to wick. All the liquidity's out of it. And we have local liquidity that we should be watching here. And it's kind of funny because these assholes never took the liquidity. Never took it. Never took it. Never took it. Never took it. Just stayed right under it the whole time. I really think they're going to try to drive this ship up a little higher. I'm looking at XTZ to do what we got, or excuse me, FILCoin to do what we got here on XTZ early on, right? So if this is an ABC to the upside, again, do you think a flat, an expanded flat should be breaking up past all of these extensions? I don't think so, right? So my probability is that this is a valid reversal, and I'm thinking we're going to see that same thing now on FILCoin. We're getting that consolidation before the big breakout, right? I think that one is like that. I think that Cody is another one that's like this. It expands the low, makes a new low, and I think it's consolidating before an XTZ style breakout. Just like SNX. 3 to the upside, 3 to the downside, 5 to the upside. Bullshit correction down. In a C wave of an expanded flat, the C wave is often violent to the upside like XTZ was. So even if you're wrong, at least you're going to get that boom out of this. We're going to clean up the liquidity left behind, right? So I think FIL, Cody, and SNX are good ones to be watching for on that, guys, for the breakout to come. If you have any more questions over those, let me know. Ed said something in the chat, some shit about DOT. Yeah, so you do have, when you look to the left on DOT, you have internal fair value gap, sir, sitting right here. Comes in confluence of your 1.236. And from there, you have external liquidity and external liquidity, and a little bit of internal liquidity left behind at both of these positions. So maybe DOT's able to chain together a correction at a later point in time to come up here and get this money. But for right now, guys, I'm going to stay fixated on the ABC correction upward until it proves me otherwise. But just like we're pointing out, even corrective moves can be bullish moves at the time. So shit can happen, right? This could really pump up. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. That's going to be QNT. We've done 15 chart requests so far, guys. We are really getting after it. Quant is something that we charted in a couple of streams ago. It's trying hard to invalidate what I thought was going on. For me, I'm going to stick with this being a potential 1, 2, 3, wave 4, and going into a wave 5. It hit our 0.618, taken from 0 to 3 to 4 for the 0.618. The wave 3 was also extended to a 2.618 measure, taken from 0 to 1 to 2, making it highly probable. We put in this low before the 382 in time of the structure's time that it took to build, which was taken from the low at the 0 to the high at the 5 with 2 clicks. Because it stops before the 382 here, this is likely an A. So I'm not buying it yet. I'm just watching to see what this B does. If it just continues to make an expanded B wave to the upside, which is the most common style, it will push up before coming down. Even then, it could make a running flat because of the bearish macro wave count that we have here on QNT, right? So I want to be really open to the idea. Let me zoom out again. That we saw 5 waves up in a wave 1 and a pullback in a 2. 5 waves up in a wave 1 and you're waiting for the pullback in a wave 2, right? And again, when we're way zoomed out here on the 3-day, we have a previous 5-wave motion up and a very long correction. 5 waves up, long correction. 5 waves up, long correction. QNT was also listed on the document ISO 222. So this has use case in the banking financial system. It's going to help them increase profitability in banking. So there's no reason why this can't become a much bigger thing. I think it should be on your docket. I think it should be one of your bigger coins that you should be looking at. Another one on that line that no one's talking about is IOTA. I think IOTA is going to bring a decent breakout here at some point. I think like many coins, this could have potentially been its low, a push up, and a big correction. A low, push up, big correction. Waiting for that next move. This is the Aunt Judy's booty. Nice pointy ass cheek. Nice round ass cheek. Her butt got ruined down in Mexico. Her husband's still not going to love her. It didn't change anything. And now we're looking for 100% technical target breakout. If we can overcome this generalized neckline area, I like to put it up to the flats of the candles. So we could even argue and say, well, let's adjust that target slightly, right? I'm very open to that. These targets are just general areas of interest. Don't fucking try to sell them to the penny or you're going to get your ass burnt. So I think, and like we've been doing in the Discord and talking about, I think that IOTA is another one. It's just in its accumulation area here. Before it consolidates at a neckline, breaks out, hopefully backtest it, and then continues on to the target, right? And at that point, you'd have to say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 could potentially be coming in for the local C leg of a motion. It's something we'll be aware of it when that point in time comes. But always, we will keep these counts updated in the Discord on the lower time frames. So feel free to pop in, guys. I know it's fucking a shameless plug. But as always, right, we give out free week trials in the Discord. If you like it, stick around. We bring a ton of value to the table. We have indicators. We have numerous technical analysts working for us. We cover all the markets from indices to metals. We have made amazing gains on gold even. So I urge you to come check us out. Way back early on in the Discord, we shared our target where we were buying gold, and now we are 100% up on average on physical gold, which is unheard of if you go talk to your grandpappy. Also, things have been going really good on our silver chart that we've been talking about. We're up on silver. Silver's only really hit these areas a couple times in history. I believe that was 2020, 2011, and 1979 going into 1980. I do think that silver is going to overcome this area and make some more macro moves to the upside. I think that it is far from over. I think silver's about to smash out this 40 range. I've already bought some of my physical silver. I'll buy more if the opportunity presents, but at least a 16% gain, if not to come up to test that 50 to 57 range for a 45% gain on physical silver. Most common area of interest for silver is going to come in around 53 to 70, and then, 70 to 86. Now, these moves on silver could take quite some time because we're on a 3-day chart, we're on a 5-day chart, we're on a weekly chart, right? These are things that are going to take time. We also thought that gold would take too long and we would never see it, but apparently that just wasn't true, and it played out really well. So I think this is no different. I do think at some point in time you could even see a short squeeze on silver where it potentially could go for a run to the triple-digit range. I know that sounds like crazy, but it could happen. Common gold to silver ratio is a 15 to 1. Ancient civilizations used to use it. Now the government has adopted that. So at some point I expect us to close in these ratios, and we'll figure out that as time goes. Does anybody in here have any charts they want to cover? So far we have covered a lot. It looks like CKB is the last chart on the docket. If I look back through the chat, if you have any other charts that you would like to be covered or I missed them, let me know, and I will try to get to them as we go. We have about 50 minutes left in me here, but I'm okay with shutting down the stream and just chatting until some chart requests come in. So let me look at CKB, and I'll go back to the chat after to see if anybody else has any other charts to chat. All right, so you're not going to like my opinion on this one, but that's okay. You don't have to. I think that this was just an ABC to the upside, A, a B, and a C, and it is over, right? I think if you're lucky, that was an A wave, and this is somehow a B wave, and if you're lucky, it gives a C, but I highly, highly doubt it, right? I think this was the first leg to the downside in A and 5 waves, or excuse me, 3 waves. I think you have 5 waves within your C here. So let's delete everything so you can see that. 3 waves in B, 5 waves in C. You have an A, B, C to the upside, which you should have sold out on, but the majority did not because they thought it was going to do something amazing. And now it's coming down in a deeper correction. This is not a chart that I would want to be part of, in my opinion, right? I don't give a shit. It's not a high quality chart. Nothing about this gives us a high conviction play. You're trying to run a play off a 3 wave. This is not good, right? So let's move on. Let's pick something better. So CKB goes in the shitter for me. Even if I'm wrong, it's okay. I have enough quality charts right now that I don't need 100. I just need a couple winners, right? Screw CKB crew. Yeah, screw them. Threw them in the garbage. Out of here. Let's go check out RIOT. It is a stock that V would like covered. Let's go check it out, my dude. All right, let me know if I get the right one for you, sir. RIOT Platforms, I'm guessing. Don't know what it is, but it sounds exciting. Ooh, Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance. Good ones, Nameless. Let's get those down. ETH and Bitcoin dominance. I love doing them. We do these in just about every stream. I typically don't do a chart unless somebody asks for it, so thank you. I think your earnings date is just around the corner on this. So hopefully you have good earnings, but the estimate's saying a negative earnings so far for growth. So it's really not that great. The issue, let's look into this leg here, because I think we're going to run into some math problems here. See what the issue is maybe? Let's go to the 3-day. This looks like a decent 5-wave motion here and a pullback in 3 potentially. We would have to be saying, and this is a long shot, right? Please remember that. If your wave 3 does not hit 1.618, it kind of fucks shit up, right? So if it doesn't technically break any rules because your wave 3 is not the shortest, so that's imperative. But your wave 3 did not get impulsive. Then you made a wave 4 pullback and then a successive motion in a wave 5. So technically the structure breaks no rules here on RIOT. But it also isn't, it doesn't have the look. It doesn't look good. All right, so we cleaned up the internal fair value gap left behind really well. You can see this was liquidity left behind in the zone, came into it and got acceptance and reversed. Now with them coming back to this so many times, they may push it up to higher areas of liquidity. So unfortunately, I think that I'm going to stick with that as my primary. This is a fucking ugly chart. To me, it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe an ABC to the downside. And W. Maybe that's X, and maybe this is A and B, and it makes C to the downside. But I'd be really, really nervous to say that it's just going to take off and start pumping now. God, it's ugly. I would say for now the best thing you could do, man, is just wait for this to break the highs if it's going to. And I wouldn't be buying it because my fear would be that it's just in some sort of fucked up corrective range. I don't think it's something I'd want to buy. That's my opinion. I think there's better stocks. Let's check my stock. I haven't checked this in a long time. This was the buy area that I was looking for here on Camping World headquarters. It had a potential 5-wave motion to the upside that looks really decent in a long grinding correction. Bought a little bit here. This could be wave 1. It also has earnings coming up, except its earnings are in the positives. So this could be something to look into that could, in time, give a decent partner leg of 1,300%. So maybe people get into camping again. I don't know what the narrative's going to be, but the stock chart itself looks really decent on that one. All right, let's move on and go look at Ethereum. I got to take a drink. Oh, man. And how are you guys doing today, man? What country are you guys coming from? I always think it's quite interesting to hear everybody's countries. I'm West Coast America. Soon I'm leaving for vacation to the East Coast. So if any of you are over there, maybe I'll see you when I get to Florida. I'm going to go there for about 2 weeks to go to Disney and Universal. And the new Epic Universe park is going to be amazing. So I'll also be putting a ton of pictures and videos in the Discord of all that. So come by and let's chat about the parks and stuff. It's always fun to hear what you guys think or if you've ever been to any of the parks. Nice, dude. The Netherlands. I'm telling you, one day I have to make a trip there. Really, really do. All right, let's go look at Ethereum for Nameless. Right now we still got 20 people in the chat, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming. I do ask you if you could tweet to your friends that we're here. Let people know that we're here. You know, we're sharing these charts. Come on in, ask whatever it is you want, guys. Share it with your friends. Nice. India, dude. Nice. I believe my friend MJ is from India also. I have a couple friends who are from India. I have a friend here in America that's from India, and he always makes me lamb biryani. And this bread that's called keema, I think is how you say it. Keemah. And it's like a naan bread stuffed with really spicy lamb. And I absolutely love it, man. I love spicy Indian food, dude. I want to travel there so badly and just go eat street food all day long. All right, let's go look at Ethereum before I get too sidetracked. I'll never get back to what I'm supposed to be doing. So on Ethereum, this was our area of interest. We can explore this in our other videos. We talked about our macro. I don't want to go back in time and talk about it again. I just want to worry about our accounts moving forwards. And this is what we've been sharing in the Discord community. We've been buying the dips pretty hard on Ethereum. This was our first accumulation zone. We accumulated again into this 3-wave pullback. And then we began to move to the upside. Our next area of interest on Ethereum as a wave 3 is around 6,900. At that point, I think you get a very shallow sideways correction that scares people. And then it pumps again to the estimated $10,000 range. I am laughing because I do think it's bullshit. I don't even like saying that number. Even though I'm heavily invested, I'm not super stoked saying that Ethereum could go to the upside to $10,000. In the Discord, we've been working on kind of like a time frame that we could see this around the topping. And we came out with a wave 3 that comes in around the beginning to end of October of this year. So you could see decent extensions here on the altcoins until October. And then we estimated out that next push maybe coming on until the end of this year. Now, time is a loose relative thing, but we've even seen ways where some of the altcoins could continue to push into 2026 after Bitcoin and Ethereum topping. So that is something to be aware of. but we're not going to stay hopeful for that. So overall, Ethereum, I think we're tracking for really bullish moves to continue. I think this was 5 waves in wave 1, pullback in wave 2, going for wave 3 to around 6,900. A nice 3-wave pullback in the wave 4 here. And a successive move as a wave 5 to around $10,000. At that point, you're really going to want to be aware of divergences on your momentum, meaning RSI coming in with regular bear divergence and volume falling off. All right. So that is Ethereum. Any other questions over Ethereum? Just let me know. Nameless Monster. All right, let's go look at Bitcoin dominance. This is not something I look at every day because I don't think we should. I like to view it on a larger time frame. This is what we were talking about early on, right, guys? It was in our last stream. We said if we start to lose 1.382 to the downside, we can still try to consider this a local, some sort of correction before chaining together another motion to the upside. But we did say that if we lose 1.618, that we would have to kind of shit can this idea and move on. So far, we have gotten amazing pin bar reaction here at the 60% level. Now, if you want to be a bull, you do not want this to be an expanded flat correction. You want this to absolutely keep nuking through the 60%, right? So with the slight reaction it's getting here, maybe we make a little local range and then another big push to the downside. And at that point, guys, we'll toss out the expanded portion of this. I would say, number one, the Bitcoin dominance doesn't play really well along with Elliott Wave. But it does like channels. It does like the basic fibs. You can see that we're under the 702 support. Kind of starting to form a little 3-day resistance here, but we have 2 days and 5 hours left till we can confirm. Our next support would come down to around the 57% mark. Now, all that really matters is that for your altcoins, overall Bitcoin dominance goes down. We want to see Bitcoin dominance go down while Bitcoin price goes up. That is the recipe for an explosive alt season. All right. We got a question here from KL. You said if liquidity increases on a token while it's in correction, is that a positive sign? So let's just go in this black space here to talk. So let's say a move, we're up the stairs. You made 5 waves to the upside. There's 2. So every correction kind of has its own volume profile, KL. And if anybody has any other chart requests, do get them in. And if not, we'll shut it down after. But if this was a move to the upside in 5 waves, and now you're looking for a correction that you could buy into, and you're watching your volume down along the lows, right? Okay, thank you for an example. It helps out a lot. So I don't like hyper. You can buy into it if you want. I refuse to touch this coin. I just can't do it. So, yeah, fuck that. This did exactly what we talked about in our other live stream. I don't know if anybody remembers, but we said the most important thing is that it was in a range. It was likely going to go above the range and take liquidity, right? So look at this. Liquidity's taken from below the range. Liquidity's taken from above the range. Now it can easily dump, right? This is not something I like to be involved in. I know that it's making me look stupid. People are making great gains on it. I think the time to be involved in on this project was way back here. Anything it's doing right now, hopeful bullshit, right? We have bear divergences. We have overall volume just not looking great. Even the overall itself is lower than it was early on. So I do think at some point this is due for a decent correction. I'd be really careful, right? In my opinion, how it made that move to the upside is with some sort of flat wave to the upside, right? Even this looks like 3 up, 3 down, and some sort of diagonal and ending 5 up. At the same time, it ends on high volume. It gets a massive liquidity rejection here. For me, I think this is people maybe trying to cause something. I don't know anything about this project. I'm speaking out my ass. But I think people are trying to get people to buy this top so that people here can get out of the project. I think this is likely an A, a B, and it comes down in a C. We can check this with fibs. Let's go from a high to a low. Currently rejecting at the 1.236 through 1.382. If you can take this high, then hit me up in the DMs, KL. Come in the Discord. Let me know if you're in there. I can look into it for you immediately. But until Hyper breaks 0.2973, I think that it would be slated for moves to the downside. It also ended its motion to the upside on high volume. It's really not the best look. So for me, for now, just going to side with the potential of more to the downside. Most common area of interest would be taking out this low. Moodang. Let's go look at Moodang. Moodang is a hideous little creature. It's a meme. It's really hard for me to want to continue to hold on to it. But we charted this in the Discord. This was our area of interest to buy into in a potential wave 4. The wave 4 is huge compared to the wave 2. So that is something that changes probability to the bears. Another thing that possibly changes probability to the bears is that we're starting this motion to the upside very, very shitty. Yes, it's very choppy. Nothing about this looks bullish. It almost looks like 3 up, 3 down, 5 up. Even if Moodang is lucky, you know, at that point, it's like you're making some sort of shitter ass diagonal here. God, what is going on with my mouse? So if that's possible, right, it's not the strongest look, so I would be cautious if you still own it. If it starts to lose structure, lose your daily 50 around 0.1742, I would have to just de-risk the Moodang and move on. I'll be able to find something better anyways. Does that make sense, Ricky? So something to be really cautious on would be that. Yeah? Just in case. All right. Any other questions or charts, guys? That is all I've got. Oh, Delta had a chart I missed. Sorry, guys. Let's go back and do his chart really quickly. It looks like hot. It's hot, hot, hot. Hopefully it's not a shitter chart. It's hollow. It's the hollow chain. Like our other coins that we're being hopeful on, like XTZ, SNX, and Cody, this would be a very similar chart. Why is that? 3 up, 3 down, 5 up. This to me looks like a W, maybe an X, and then a Y leg, or maybe even an A. This would be a very short B and a C, but overall the move down has a lot of overlap and shit to it. So in my opinion, this is likely just, fuck me, I gotta fix that click. My mouse is dying. Luckily that's a, possibly, this is just an ABC correction to the upside. It's above the gateway drug. It's reacting at the 1 line. The most common area of interest would be to take the highs of A in an expanded flat. Now we will be able to plot this better once we get moving, meaning that once you get a 3 and you make a range, son of a bitch, my mouse, make a range in a 4, then I can put a channel from a low to a low to a high to predict the high of C. But for right now, we don't have that. So let's just keep watching Hollow Chain. It's likely an expanded flat to the upside. Mark Tasker. Nice to see you, friend. Let's get that written down for you. So this was hot. And now we are going to do Crow. Yeah, let's look at Crow. Nice to meet you. I don't remember if I've seen you in any of the streams, but it's good to see you here, friend. Crow is not something I look at often. I've kind of distanced myself from this project when Matt Damon started being on commercials. To me, everything that Crow has done has been liquidity moves that end on high volume and that potentially give examples as to why I should not be a member of this project. Here's an ABC, ends on high volume. Here's an ABC, ends on high volume. If you are lucky, Crow is going to give you, let's delete some of this shit so I can see what I'm doing. It will continue the correction to the upside if you're lucky, right? I think that if you're lucky, you're getting a C wave to the upside. At some point, a spike of volume will come in. This will likely just be a ABC to the upside. Oh, you just found me, dude. Cool. That means the algorithm's working. That means I'm not doing too bad. Jamie, you want us to go look at AERO on the micro? Yes, sir. We will do that again. Guys, a lot of this stuff here at the end of the video, I might not timestamp. It'll just be like various altcoins. So all this hyper fucking hot, Crow, AERO, all this stuff that's kind of not looking so hot. I might not timestamp it, but it'll be in there. So if you need to look at it later, just go back through. I'll see how much time I have today. But dude, I have 5 kids, all kinds of gardens to take care of. And we leave for vacation for Disney and Universal soon. So I don't have much time to get my pack on. And if you're anything like me, I'm kind of a last minute creature. So, all right. So for me, we're looking at that as an ABC. Let's go look at AERO's low time frame, sir. Mark, let me know if you have any questions, friend. And if you run into anything on it, just hit me up. I also have the Discord community coming there for a week free trial. I will keep your lower time frames updated as much as you ask. As you can ask anybody here in the chats kind of what they think about being a Discord member there and the value that they obtain by being around. Some of these folks have been a member there for years. So we do no advertising. We're just kind of like a little guy in the shadows. But as a little guy, we work very, very hard for your value. So if you're wanting to be a micro player on this, unfortunately, my guy, I think you're going to need to be on a 15-minute. This is a very hard thing to chart on a 15-minute. But what you're looking for is your RSI resetting deeply with hidden bull divergence. You have a 3-wave pullback and then a successive possible 5-wave motion to the upside, in my opinion. This could likely be just the first leg of a correction. It will get a connector and then pair together another leg in correction. I'm not fearful right now. I'm also not on the 15-minute chart, but this is likely the first leg in a correction in A, B, and then we'll get a successive C. That will scare the shit out of people. We'll just have to see what kind of goes on there. You know what I mean? The pullback would not make me fearful, though. Look at your hourly RSI. You've already confirmed hidden bull divergence already on your last hourly candle by making higher closures on the price action, but lower closures on the RSI. So it's resetting it really, really well. So I'm not really fearful. I'm going to continue to hang on to my AERO and accumulate spot when I do see opportunities. Yeah, and ride the waves, man. So, all right. Anybody else with any questions out there? Please do ask. I love covering them. We cover everything in the Discord community from Bitcoin to Ethereum to the indices. We have 34 EMA cranking out options trading on the daily. He trades options on the metals and on the indices. So swing by, check that out. We have new indicators that are getting created in the community currently. New websites coming up thanks to an amazing designer. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up really soon. And we've seen a lot of growth in the community lately. So do come join in, man. And I really look forward to seeing you all around in the future. Thank you for today's time on the stream. Thank you all for making time and coming today. It means a lot to me. It's really humbling just to know there's so many people supporting me. So thank you all. And I look forward to seeing you out there. Please come by the Discord or hit me up on Twitter. And as always, thank you guys for your time. Bye, everybody.